Turkmenistan is the second largest country in Central Asia, and with an area of 488,100 square kilometers, it is roughly the size of Spain. The country has only around 6 million inhabitants and is therefore very sparsely populated. It is located on the Caspian Sea and borders Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. Along with 43 other states, it is a so-called landlocked country, meaning it has no direct connection to the open sea. Almost 80% of the country is covered by the Karakum Desert, which naturally means lots of sand but little life. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Turkmenistan increasingly cut itself off from the outside world and is now one of the most isolated countries in the world. A country with huge gas reserves and an extremely controlled society that most of us only know from the news, if at all. But what makes Turkmenistan so special? Why is the country so isolated? And what is life really like for the people there? To answer these questions, we have to go way back in history. People were farming in the region as early as the 6th millennium BC. Around 4,000 years later, the oasis culture developed in the southeast of the present-day country, which dates back to the Bronze Age and is characterized by an unusually high level of pottery and metalworking. Around 600 BC, Turkmenistan was conquered by the Achaemenids and thus became part of the First Persian Empire. In the 4th century BC, Alexander the Great conquered the region on his way to India. From the 8th century onwards, Turkish-speaking Oghuz came to the area, because of which it was Islamized. They are the ancestors of today's Turkmen, who later founded the Seljuk Empire. The famous Silk Road soon passed through the area of today's capital Ashgabat. In the following 11 centuries, the Turkmen lived under various rulers such as the Mongols or the Uzbek Khanates, and fought tribal wars among themselves. Lured by the mineral resources and riches of the region, Russia undertook several campaigns of conquest at the end of the 19th century, and from 1881, Turkmenistan was under the control of the Russian Tsarist Empire. After the end of Tsarist rule, Turkmenistan was initially incorporated into the Soviet Union in 1922, together with Uzbekistan as Turkestan. From 1925, it was then incorporated as Turkmenistan, and the current state borders were created. But in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, Turkmenistan, like many other Soviet republics, declared its independence. Hopes for change and freedom were high, but what followed was an era of authoritarian rule and isolation. Turkmenistan's first president, Sapar Murat Niyazov, ruled the country in a highly authoritarian manner. He created a personality cult, had numerous statues and pictures of himself erected in the country, corruption flourished, and he persecuted his political opponents with all severity, which led to numerous human rights violations. Under his successor, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the country's image to the outside world changed somewhat, but repression, strict control, and corruption remained. Berdimuhamedov continued the personality cult, calling himself the Protector and introducing new rules and rituals that had to be followed by the population. Just to illustrate the absurdity of these rules, he banned black cars in the country because he himself prefers the color white. The media is still controlled by the state, access to the internet is severely restricted, and dissenting opinions are not tolerated. Websites are blocked, messenger services such as WhatsApp or Telegram, and even VPN services do not work. In the press freedom ranking, the country is in 175th place, only ahead of countries such as Afghanistan, North Korea, and Iran. Turkmenistan is also ranked 170th out of 180 countries in the Global Corruption Perceptions Index. Turkmenistan's economy is based almost exclusively on oil and natural gas. Natural gas accounts for around 82% and oil for 10% of export revenues. Although only 3% of the country's land area is arable, agriculture generates 7.5% of income, and almost half of the population works in agriculture, which mainly lives from the cultivation and export of cotton. Tourism does not play a role in Turkmenistan. In 2019, only 14,400 foreign tourists visited the country. Turkmenistan is characterized by great cultural diversity. Around 93% of the population are Muslims, around 6% belong to the Russian Orthodox Church, and the rest are small Jewish, Catholic, and Protestant communities. Tribal affiliation plays a special role. Each Turkmen tribe has its own dialects, traditional costumes, and even distinctive carpet patterns. The most politically influential and numerically largest tribe is the Teke. Little is likely to change in Turkmenistan in the future. Berdi Muhammadov has handed over the office of President of Turkmenistan to his son Serdar. Nothing has changed in terms of policy. There is no freedom of the press, and opponents of the policy are arrested. That's all for today. What is your opinion on Turkmenistan? Let me know in the comments. If you want to learn more about a country that emerged from a river, I can recommend my video about the Gambia. Have fun watching and see you next time. Ciao.